Welcome to Box on the Box, Rock and Celluloid, Bot for short. Remember to share and subscribe if you enjoy these videos. So my top 10 filmmaker, director today is Quentin Tarantino. Probably the biggest name in sort of American auteur cinema, for want of a better expression, in the last coming up 30 years. Actually this year is the 30 years since Tarantino first emerged. I like Tarantino. Every time a Tarantino comes out, it's like, I've got to go and see the Tarantino. But I've got 2 or 3 main criticisms of him. He hasn't evolved sort of emotionally. He's still immature. He's still pilfering his pop cultural references. And he's kind of gone into this kind of fantasy history. He doesn't seem to be able to experience life or observe and then do something that reflects that. Jackie Brown's probably the film that comes closest to that. I think his films have got very bloated. It started with Jackie Brown, which is a bit long for what it is, and then went on from there, and he's starting to do 3-hour films. There's also like his obsession with the N-word and things like that, and there's actual Dusk Till Dawn. There's kind of obviously acts in that, but he scripts it. He's got a reference to people with disabilities. Just strange little things he puts in, weird obsessions. But anyway, Tarantino comes out, you're like, it's the new Tarantino, you're going to go and see it. So in actual fact, he only has 10 films, so we don't have to do one that doesn't make the cut. My number 10 choice won't surprise you, it's Death Proof. So this was done it was originally supposed to be probably a 90-minute film and shown as a double bill with Robert Rodriguez's Planet Terror as like a grindhouse double bill. Like 70s exploitation cinema, and it had fake trailers done for the film, which were great actually. The fake trailers were hilarious, but the film just disappoints. I think the Kurt Russell's, it's great to see him cast. I love Kurt Russell, but it doesn't quite come off with his character. I think the scenes like when the girls are putting music on in the jukebox, it goes on for so long, and then they're killed really brutally. I mean, the first killing of the girls is really horrible. So there's kind of a nasty side to it. Obviously it got put out with 113 minute length, which although not really long, is too long for a film like this. It should have been 90 minutes, 85 minutes even. So yeah, it's not one I go back to. So that's my number 10 choice. My number 9 choice is Kill Bill Volume 2. So the problem with this is, it's longer than Kill Bill. It's 137 minutes, but it's just not as interesting. I was kind of 6 out of 10 when I saw this. Again, this is the beginning of this kind of indulgence. Yeah, it's cool doing Volume 1, Volume 2, but would it not have been better to make an epic revenge story? He's basically released a film that's 111 minutes long and 137 minutes, so he's got, what's that, 248 minutes. He's got 3 hours and 28 minutes. So if he edited that down and paired out things, he could have done, probably would have been about 2 hours and 40 minutes, longer, but it would have blasted by the material there. The training sequences, stuff like that. He could have made Kill Bill and made like an awesome kung fu epic. But it's got some good bits. The fight with Daryl Hannah's really good, and the appearance of David Carradine, again, showing his kind of cool casting. So like I say, it was like a 6 out of 10 on that. My number 8 choice is Django Unchained. So this was really, really good. Again, I found that Mandingo sequence is hard watch, and he's got his usual obsession with the N-word, and it's weird was having Christoph Waltz sort of say it, even though he wasn't that way inclined as the character. Good casting, Jamie Foxx, Don Johnson, and so on. It's it's $100 million budget, it grossed $425 million, big hit, but 165 minutes. Now in this film it has that big climax at the end when they have the shoot out of the house, and then it carries on. I think Tarantino turns up at that point as an Australian, and it's just like, his cameos are so jarring. The problem is with Tarantino's acting, it's not so much his acting's not great, it's just we know his persona as Quentin Tarantino. He doesn't stretch much out of that, so it's just kind of, it's just jarring. It's like almost breaking the fourth wall in a weird sense. Some really cool sequences, bits of great imagery of the blood splatters on the cotton field poppies and stuff like that. I did enjoy it. It's just this was a film that needed to be 130, maybe 140 minutes long. Hell, even if it was 150 minutes, it was kind of epic. But just that, it just did that thing. It didn't know when to stop. And I thought it was a mistake to kill Christoph Waltz character. That was pretty sad. It would have been nice to kind of have him getting out. So, that was, I was kind of 7 on this. So my number 7 choice is Kill Bill Volume 1. So again, this it's a better length. This I kind of in my mind I thought it was longer. This, but yeah, it's 111 minutes, so it's under 2 hours. Uma Thurman's excellent. Great fight scenes. There's the amazing Crazy Eights fight, really good. And good sort of allusion to the other characters. This and having her in the Bruce Lee gear, I just think the thing that undoes this film a bit is the fact that Kill Bill Volume 2 kind of undoes it, because we have to see that to kind of tie up this one. But it was definitely an 8 out of 10 for me. Okay, so my number 6 choice is perhaps his most mature film, and his kind of odd one out film, is Jackie Brown. So this is the only film he's done that's based on a novel, Rum Punch. What I suspect happened at this time, his other screenplays had been used, like True Romance and Natural Born Killers. And maybe he wanted to do something, and he was maybe kind of thinking of ideas of stuff to do. So adapting a novel was a way to get another film done. After this, he had a 6-year hiatus. He bought a mansion and just watched films, apparently, and he must have written Kill Bill. But this is good again. I mean, it's 154 minutes. It's 2 hours and 34 minutes. I mean, a film that's basically aping blaxploitation films. Jackie Brown's like, it's Foxy Brown. It's a play on that, and it has Pam Grier. A film like this could have been 110 minutes. He needs to watch a Don Siegel film or something like that. Well, he will do. He'll know all his stuff, but that's just my opinion. But it's good. Pam Grier's good. I think Robert Forster's great. I like the way it uses the Michael Keaton character. Well, Michael Keaton's in it, and then he gets used as the same character by Steven Soderbergh in Out of Sight. That's really cool. Bridget Fonda's good. I love Robert De Niro in this, actually. He said he kind of played the characters like a bag of clothes. And when you see the character and how he is, that's really good. So yeah, I'm going for an 8 out of 10 on this again, or maybe 7, I don't know. The last few films have come in a kind of 7, 8. This just needs a bit of editing. I'm all for leisurely pacing on story, but a lot of Tarantino films, it's often taken up with chat. And I think that's something people don't see as a flaw, and they should. Cinema's about telling stories with images. And Tarantino films are very verbose. They have loads of chat, and like quite often, you've got a kind of fixed camera position, or you've got lengthy scenes of dialogue. And then the action's not moving on visually, and often the characters are just talking about shit, which we do in real life, but it's a different thing. It's just an observation, it's just my opinion. So my number 5 choice is, it's bloody long, I've got to say, but when I watched it, I was pleasantly surprised. I was kind of like, oh no, what this is going to be like, but I just thought it was really good. You can actually see it as a re-edited miniseries on Netflix as well, but it's The Hateful Eight. So this is his Western. This is the film that finally wins Ennio Morricone an Oscar. I don't think he scores that great. He uses redone things from The Thing, but I don't care. Morricone deserved an Oscar. Unfortunately, he casts the female stunt woman in it again. What's her name? Zoe Bell. She can't act, but anyway. But it's got quite a cool twist. I love Kurt Russell in it. I think Walton Goggins, is really good. I think he's the kind of like little find in it. It's got a great Samuel L. Jackson scene as well. You get a great Sam scene, kind of, I suppose, a flashback scene. So yeah, it's kind of a strange one with this. I shouldn't, I'm surprised it's this high, but there's just something about this film. I think the leisurely pacing kind of works better with this, because you've got the kind of them travelling across the West and the slow pace of that. And then you've kind of got the Reservoir Dogs thing where they're confined to the haberdashery, and you've got that theatrical aspect where it's playing out. Also, it's got that elements of like, and then there were none as well, the Agatha Christie. So it's quite playful in there that way. But that's my number 5 choice. My number 4, so this is daft. It's one of his revisionists. This is his new thing he's doing, his revisionist to history. But it's Inglourious Basterds, so 153 minutes. Again, it's the same length as one of his other films. Big hit, $70 million budget, $321 million. I should just say, like, The Hateful Eight's one of his lowest grossing films in recent times, but still grossed $155 million. This guy makes personal films, he has creative control, and they make money. And that's a rarity. So this, really like Brad Pitt in it. Christoph Waltz is awesome. I think we've sort of realised, I've got a mate and we do podcasts, and he's like, Christoph Waltz he's giving the same performance every film. And like, yeah, I think when Christoph Waltz was discovered, we were like, fucking hell, who's this Austrian TV actor who speaks French? Since then, we've kind of seen him in other things, and essentially that's his kind of persona. That's the performance he does. But it's funny. I like the end bit with Melanie Laurent and I forget who the other actor is playing, but they make kind of their own kind of Nouvelle Vague film that they project, and then obviously, you know, it all burns down and they shoot Hitler. It's mad. I can't be doing with Eli Roth in it. Again, he's cast one of his mates. He can't really. It's kind of like he's trying too hard, Eli Roth, with his baseball bat and stuff. Great scene with Michael Fassbender. That's the best scene probably, when they're in, apart from the opening, when they're in the bar and the guy susses out the regional accent of his German. Really good. You know, he's kind of tapping into like Where Eagles Dare there. He's reminding me of the Florine, I thought the cathedral was on the other side of the square. You know, that's like a 2-minute scene in Where Eagles Dare, but he kind of stretches this out and does it very well. And again, he's very good at using you know, you've got the claustrophobia of the bar, and the way he shoots it creates tension. Dan Kruger's excellent as well in this. You know, it looks great, but the way he uses, you know, her look and the dress and everything, really good. So that is my number 4 choice. My number 3 choice is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, his most recent film. More revisionist Hollywood stuff. I just thought this film, aside from being a bit too long, it's 161 minutes, I just thought it was really good fun. I loved the bits where... Loved Brad Pitt's performance. I thought Brad Pitt was brilliant in this. He played like, you know, best mate you could have. DiCaprio is excellent as well. The bits where he's shooting the TV scenes and he's kind of giving this great performance. I love that Tarantino flipped that idea that, you know, a TV actor would give, you know, an alright performance for TV, but he kind of flips and he's making it more cinematic. DiCaprio, and Pitt make a really good double act. The scenes up at the Manson house, that's an interesting thing. The criminal sort of thing of this, I think, is the Margot Robbie character, the Sharon Tate. I can't believe she got an Oscar nomination, really, because she got 2 BAFTAs, that was it. The BAFTA nominated her twice. Fucking stupid. But she just, you know, it's not really, all there is for a character to do is to be pretty, and then, you know, as if that's enough to go like, oh, well, if she got murdered, that'd be extra awful. It is awful. It was awful what happened, but then obviously there's the weird thing where that doesn't happen. It's a fantasy, so it's weird with this. Instead of making a kind of hidden history of Hollywood film like a Kenneth Anger thing, like one of his books, he's kind of taking the pop cultural references of the time, and then you know, making this revisionist, you know, historical fantasy, I suppose. But it's quite interesting, you know, the bit when Damian Lewis is Steve McQueen. And it's great at the party when you saw the back of Damian Lewis, you thought that's McQueen. You know, if you're a McQueen fan, that was cool. The casting of the Polanski was good. You know, it was good for stuff like that. Again, I would hover to a 9. I'd probably give it an 8. You know, his films, generally all the films I've been going through so far are kind of all 8s. Okay, so my number 2 choice is his debut film, Reservoir Dogs. So it's easy or difficult to remember the impact it's made. I mean, it's weird. It only grossed $3 million in America. Britain, it went to art houses, but if you're into films, it was like, there's this film, Reservoir Dogs, coming out, and the director's called Quentin Tarantino. I think just Quentin Tarantino's name, there hadn't been a director, you know, with a name like that. It just totally stood out. And the critics were like, oh, this is amazing. You know, it'd been at the Sundance Film Festival, I think, or maybe they'd got some backing there. But straight out of the box, it was a classic independent film, a cult film. It made Miramax. As Harvey Weinstein said, Quentin made Miramax and Miramax made Quentin. Unfortunately, obviously, we know what happened to Harvey Weinstein, and then Tarantino was kind of not tied up in that, but he kind of had to distance himself. from all the horrific stuff of Weinstein. But great acting in this, introduced us to actors, we hadn't seen Harvey Keitel in anything that great for ages, although he'd done Thelma and Louise the year before, and Bugsy, so he'd had some great stuff there. Tim Roth got a great role, Michael Madsen, Steve Buscemi, I hadn't seen Steve Buscemi in anything. Interesting photography, he'd found that kind of hot, kind of vibrant colours he uses. And it still holds up 99 minutes. You've got all the pop cultural references, particularly the scene when they're talking about Like a Virgin and stuff like that. And people connected with Tarantino of my generation because he kind of watched and seen all the things we'd seen and all the stuff before they introduced us to. But I'd still say at the time, I still, would still defer to other filmmakers who were making films that were stories that kind of reflected reality. I always say this, that the people in Tarantino films are the people you find in films. They're not characters you might find in real life, in my opinion. And obviously it owes a debt to Kubrick's The Killing as well. Okay, so let's go back through them. Death Proof number 10, Kill Bill 2 number 9, Django Unchained number 8, Kill Bill Volume 1 number 7, Jackie Brown 6, Hateful Eight 5, Inglourious Basterds 4, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood 3, and 2 Reservoir Dogs. So that tells you that number 1 is Pulp Fiction. No brainer this for me. Reservoir Dogs was a great debut. But this was the film that was the breakout hit. I mean, it grossed $214 million back in the day. So if you released it today, it would be well over $400 million, I would say. In it's 154 minutes long. So I talked about, his films being too long, and this is the same length as, Jackie Brown before. But I think the difference with this, it just stayed the right side. It had enough to it where all that dialogue, all that patter was great, and it wasn't too much. The pop cultural references are really cool, right? All the cheese and stuff. And amazing performances, John Travolta, I mean, people have just forgotten about him. At the time, Travolta hadn't had a hit. I mean, Staying Alive was a hit, but it was a terrible film. And Look Who's Talking was just Talking Baby, so he hadn't been in a hit film for 11 years, but he hadn't been in anything of worth since De Palma's Blowout, but that was a flop. So you were literally going back to Urban Cowboy in 1980, where Travolta had been in a hit film and as was the star. And back then it was a long time, and then he totally flips it. Tarantino does that thing that he does. He recognises a quality in an actor and writes them apart, and that's one of his biggest strengths of his left of centre casting. Is brilliant. Uma Thurman's great. Samuel Jackson's fucking amazing. He's the standout. You've got great work from Ving Rhames as well. I'm on the motherfucker. Love Ving Rhames in this. Bruce Willis is fantastic. Chris Walken does that brilliant scene about the watch. There's just numerous things in it. There's not a moment. Even Tarantino, when they go to clean the car, even Tarantino's initial jarringness, because by this point, when he was in Reservoir Dogs, it didn't matter. Like, why do I get a Mr. Brown? We didn't know who he was, but he'd done so many interviews, it kind of became jarring. But he gets there in that scene. A classic film, one of the defining 90s films. I would say in American cinema, I'd say there was Goodfellas, Heat, and Pulp Fiction would be the 3 greatest American films of the 90s for me. I watched this recently, I hadn't seen it for a long time, and it holds up. We loved it at the time, soundtrack, the whole lot, and it's still a great film. And this is the one Tarantino film I can go, yeah, I can totally get with. It's funny going through his top 10. I mean, I've been critical, but next Tarantino comes out, I'll be, very early in the queue to be seeing it. So I hope you enjoyed that, and see you soon. Thanks.